All right, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, We Love Comics. And if you've been subscribed to my channel for a while now, you know that each and every month I send in 4 books to PGX to get graded. I have a deal with them where I do not get paid. I am under no obligation to say anything other than sharing my experience because I do not sign contracts. They were kind enough not to need them, so this way I could speak freely, unlike many comic book channels and basically every other channel that does any kind of review on YouTube. A lot of them have to sign contracts, which means they're obligated to say something positive. I want to be real with you guys. I think a lot of people that watch my channel respect me and appreciate that because I share my experience. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean your experience will be the same, so always keep that in mind. I am doing nothing more than sharing my experience. But the deal I have with PGX is I can send in 4 books every month. I've been doing it now for about 5 years. Every single month, I send in 4 comics to get graded, pressed, dry cleaned, and adding signature verification if it needs it, but adding grader's notes to the back of the book. And if you don't know about that, that is something that I recommended to the owner of PGX, Daniel Patterson, so shout out to him as always. And I recommended having an option to be able to put grader's notes on the back of the slab. I like that. Whether you do or not is up to you. But if you want to use that, if you try PGX, use the code We Love Comics Graders Notes, and for $5 per slab, you can get the Graders Notes placed on the back of the slab if that's something you're interested in. Also, to make sure you guys get a benefit if you want to try PGX out, and I'm not telling you whether you should or shouldn't, grading is basically based on, how quickly you want your books back, because PGX will be the quickest without having to spend extra money for quote-unquote speedy returns, which can take some companies up to 6 to 8 months. They are the cheapest of the 3 as far as price is concerned. They do in-house pressings, dry cleanings, and signature verification, so less chance of your books being damaged by being reshipped and repackaged and resent to other places. I show my revealing grades every month when I get them back live, so there's no editing, there's no trying to make things look different than they are. If you've been watching these videos, basically, I get the books back every approximately month and a half, a little bit less sometimes, depending on the time of the year. The grades have been pretty spot on, at least what I consider to be accurate. I'm usually pretty close to guessing what it is. Now, I always base my grades based on what I think it will be after pressing and dry cleaning. So, depending on what needs to be done, the grade's going to vary. But I try and show my honest opinion with it. Check out the links in the description of this video if you're interested, because if you use the code We Love Comics Free Press, if you send 10 comics to PGX and use that code, you can get one of your comics pressed absolutely free. So depending on the book, you could save about another $20 to $30, which is money in your pocket instead of somebody else's. So it's nice that they do that. So check the link in the description. And there's many other things that I offer in the description of this video and many other videos that I don't even talk about. If you want to join my Patreon and support my channel and things like that. There's a lot of other discount codes. Go check them out. John Rowe is in the chat, so thank you for participating. Let's put on the video camera. Now, the 4 books, I always tell you the price I pay for them. I tell you what the significance is, if any, and what my predictions will be. Again, what I think after pressing and dry cleaning would be. So, I'm always excited to get these back, and let's get this going. This is a book I'm sure eventually we'll have these 2 characters meet. So the best time to get these books graded is before that happens, because it's just a matter of time. This is definitely a book I recommend to get. A little expensive these days, but you guys know me. I always say wait for deals, try and make deals. You can even do trades. You're only limited to your your ability to think. So it's not always, oh, I don't have enough money. There are always other ways to do things, outside of theft and stealing and doing things like that. You don't want to partake in that, unless you enjoy being a criminal. But first one is Amazing Spider-Man number 16. This, of course, is Daredevil in the yellow suit, the banana suit. First time he meets the Amazing Spider-Man. Now, we are eventually going to be seeing Daredevil in the MCU. I am not watching the She-Hulk show. If you like it, congratulations. Even flies are attracted to poop, so, there might be people that actually like this show, and if you do, God bless you, Allah bless you, whoever you worship bless you. But they're really teasing the fact that Daredevil is coming, which I find funny. The show has been reviewed so badly, and from the reviews and the images I've seen, I mean, it's just ridiculously bad, that more people are watching it because they're waiting for Daredevil than the main character. So you done screwed up if you're looking forward to a character that may get one episode and part of an episode more than the main character of the TV show. That should tell you everything you need to know. I have a feeling, because they teased the in episode 5 Daredevil's helmet at the end as an end credit scene. So everybody was expecting this episode 6 to have Daredevil, and they didn't. So I think that's like clickbait kind of stuff. I don't like that, but I have a feeling they're going to not utilize him until probably the last half of the last episode. String you along to make you keep watching. I won't watch it. If you want to watch it, congratulations. But I paid a total of $84.61 for this book. So regardless, even if the shows and the TV shows and the movies are, not our cup of tea, so to speak, these days, that does not stop the desirability of especially Silver Age comic books. So those are the times you could probably get some deals, and that's the best time to pounce on a book. But like I said, I paid $84.61 on this. I'm predicting about a 2.0 to a 2.5. It is a lower grade book, but as I always say, low grade is better than no grade, so it is definitely worth taking the chance on. Another first crossover, at least in the Silver Age, I'm sure, well, there were many crossovers in the Golden Age, but those are very expensive. But this is Strange Tales number 107. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first Silver Age connection between the Human Torch and the Submariner. We do know that the Fantastic Four is eventually coming. Let's see what they do with them. We definitely know the Submariner is coming in the Black Panther movie. Whether these two cross paths, who knows? But considering they have a Golden Age history, I think at some point they might do that. So books like this might be more desirable. Now, I bought this one from eBay, but it was from My Comic Shop. It's mycomicshop.com, so I'll give them a shout out. One of their reputations is they'll say what they think a grade is, and they tend to undergrade it, which I thoroughly believe they've done, because I paid $145 for this comic, but according to the mycomicshop.com prediction, they said this is a 3.5. This is much better than a 3.5. So, in true fashion, I guess it's true. They'd rather undergrade than overgrade, because if they said this is a 9.0 and it came back a 3.5, the buyer would be pretty mad. So, I mean, the colors are bright. I don't see, there's some minor damage along the edge of the book, but that's to be expected from a book from the 60s. But there's no major tears or anything. There's no creases. This book is beautiful. So it is, in my opinion, absolutely higher than a 3.5. But I paid a total of $145 for that. And of course, I always include shipping, because that is part of the cost. I predict about a 4.5 to a 5.5 with off-white pages. And by the way, off-white pages on the other book, because I think I forgot to mention that. But this book is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know where they're getting a 3.5 from this, but I'm mentioning it because that was what was written on here when I bought it. And we'll see where it comes back in about a month and a half. All right, next two I've sent in before, but these are books that you want to send in before movies and TV shows come out. Both of these are absolute no-brainers. I've been talking about these for years. If you haven't gotten them by now, they're not going to be getting any cheaper, so get them while you can. I have several copies of this book. This is X-Men number 94. I paid $226. This, of course, is the new series of the new X-Men. Not their first appearance, because that's in Giant Size X-Men number 1. But this is a mid-grade book. but for $226, I'm going to do well with this regardless. There's maybe 3 or 4 spine ticks, but other than that, there's some blunt corners, but not damaged or no dog ears or anything like that. So I'm predicting about a 5.0 to a 5.5. I would not be shocked if it comes back a 6.0, but we will see. And off-white to white pages on this one. Now, before I show the last book, I want to thank everybody that's hitting the like button so far. 4 of the 8 people, so 50% ratio of that. I want to thank the 8 people for watching. A little tip, no matter who you send your books to get graded, because I've heard horror stories from watching other people's channels, sending books into different companies. There's not any one particular, but people's books get lost, and the company cannot find them. Well, here's a huge thing that you can do to reduce that, if not eliminate that problem. When I send my books to get graded, every single month, I tape on the back my name, my address, my phone number, and my email. Tell them what I want done with the book, like pressing, dry cleaning, signature verification if need be, and grader's notes on the back of the slab. But also another thing that you can do is put, if it's like got staples barely hanging on, get another piece of tape right on it. Staples barely hanging on, please remove with care, because a person that's going to be taking this out of the bag and board, number one, isn't going to know that problem exists, and number two, is not going to treat your book as good as you will. Because, especially if it's one of the bigger companies, they're going to be in a hurry, so they're just going to rip them out and get it done. So put information there that they might need to know, especially your own personal information, so this way, if they misplace it, they can find it. So many people that I've seen on other channels that are bigger channels that you think would know better, I've seen these scenarios, and I'm not going to mention which companies that had this happen, because it's happened to all of them, where their books got misplaced and the company says, well, we can't find them. Well, if you don't write your information on each book you send in, you're making it more difficult and more likely that if they misplace it, that they will not find it. But if you write your name and your personal information on the back of every comic book, backing board, that's going to definitely increase the chances of them finding the book and finding your book, instead of maybe, and I've seen this happen, where they give you somebody else's book. So the more information you give, the better you're going to help yourself. So that's a big tip that I would highly recommend. All right, so this is the last one of the 4. This is actually my last comic I own about this book. All the others I've either sold or I put in mystery boxes, which, by the way, I still sell the mystery boxes. I haven't sold one since I moved here 3 years ago, but check the link in the description for my website if you're interested in some of the comic book mystery boxes. They're anywhere from a $25 mystery box up to a $5,000 mystery box. Now, of course, the $5,000 mystery box is going to have some really good books. There's going to be no common books in there, so hopefully you'll give it a chance, because I have to repair my roof. But anyway, we're going to be selling some books soon in the future. I just got to wait a little while. But this is a book I've been telling people to get for years. This is my last ungraded copy. It is still in the original bag and board. I paid a grand total of $10 for this book. This, of course, is Ultimate Fallout 4. This is the first print. Now, the biggest thing about this book, and I'm giving it a grade between a 9.0 and a 9.8. The reason I do that is because it's in the original bag, it has that little crease, from a potential crease anyway, you can't see, but there's a little where you can tear open the back of the bag to get the comic out. There's a little line, and sometimes it causes a crease on the back of the book. So this is absolutely a book, even if you bought it already out of the bag from somebody on eBay or something, get this book pressed and dry cleaned, because that little dent, if it doesn't break color, can be fixed and you could still get a 9.8. But the reason I say 9.0 to 9.8 is it depends on what kind of damage happened because of that little crease in the bag so you can open it. So of all the books that I've had, only one came back a 9.8. I think one that came back at 9.4, another one a couple of 9.6s. So I'm hoping for at least one more 9.8. But I paid $10 for this book, so it can come back in 8.0 and I'm still going to do well. If you don't own the first appearance of Miles Morales at this point, they are going to do a live action film eventually, and I'm sure they're going to do it justice, because the Into the Spider-Verse was really good. And I hope they don't ruin that, because, there's not many comic book, movie, and TV shows to, root for these days. So let's hope. I'm sure they'll do this character well, but that's a book to absolutely get. So those are the 4 books. I want to address something that I've seen a lot of people talking about because of the way they are caring more about agendas than actual good stories these days. People are talking about a comic book crash. Here's what I'll tell you. I think when it comes to newer modern books that companies are putting out, I think that section's going to totally crash. I mean, you see what DC, when that company bought the rights to DC, what they're going to do. They may even outsource the DC comics. Whether it happens or not, there's a difference between what somebody says and what somebody does. But I think if there's going to be any kind of comic crash, it's going to come from the modern books, because there's so much SJW agenda garbage that people are not buying them anymore. I refuse to buy any of these new comics. I don't care if it goes up to $1 million the next day. Integrity is more important to me than money. So, like that first appearance of the gay Superman, I mean, if you like it, congratulations. I don't care how much that book is worth, I will not purchase it. You have to stand by your own standards of what you think is good and bad. Now, obviously, that's going to be different for everyone, because, like they say, art is in the eyes of the interpreter. So, I really think when it comes to modern books, they're going to take a dive. But when you're talking Bronze Age, Silver Age, Golden Age superheroes that have been around, for some of them, for decade upon decade, some getting close to the century mark, they're never going to go out of style. Now, you might see some dips in the prices, but to me, that's always a buying opportunity. So, in my opinion, they are not going to destroy the comic book industry except for the new books. Now, there might even be some Copper Age books that'll still be worth something that's valuable. Like, for example, Deadpool comics, for example, or Harley Quinn. But I just think the new books, nobody really cares about anymore. I mean, like I said, if you do, that's great. But I think if anything's going to crash, it's going to be the modern comic books, because eventually people are going to get enough, and you got to speak with your wallet. That's why I will never go to Disney World ever again, because I don't like their SJW stuff that they're doing, especially when it comes to grooming children. I mean, that's disgusting. I will never go to the park, and I live in Florida. I'm probably about a 3 or 4 hour drive, but, I will not give them my money. I do not have Disney Plus. I will not get their subscription. I will not watch these shows, because if this is why I don't understand people that care more about views on their YouTube channel than their integrity, and they'll just spend the money to review something just so they can get the views. Notice I don't do any of those reviews, because I'm not going to review garbage. I'm not going to put my energy into their stuff, because when you give them the attention, it's free advertisement. If you don't like the way a phone company treats you, you could picket, you could protest, you can complain. It does nothing. If you change phone companies and you give your money to someone else, and enough people do that, they'll either go out of business or they'll change and restructure their business. So, there's an old saying that there is no such thing as bad press. So these companies love the fact that people are going to for example, the latest Disney trailer and thumbing it down. Because what does that do? It gets traffic to their site, which creates ad revenue, which makes them money. So they use people's emotions against them, even if you think you're doing the right thing, by exploiting your emotions and making you go to their site to create hate, which gives you nothing but negativity yourself, because now you're angry and frustrated and upset. That's not a way to live a happy life. And you're still giving them money, even if you don't go to the movie theater and watch the movie. Every click gives them, advertising revenue. So stop doing it. Stop falling into the same trap. I've been telling people this for years. So anyway, people are going to do what they're going to do. If you think the 2 seconds of hitting a thumbs down button is really going to hurt them when they're cashing in on all the ad revenue you guys are helping them get, there's a reason why they keep doing it. They're not stupid. Everything happens for a reason. You just have to be smarter than them. Do not give your energy to things that make you unhappy. So that's why I'm not buying any newer books. If I'm going to buy any books, and I might be starting to purchase again soon, knock on wood, I'm going to stick with the classics. With the first appearances of the Punisher, the first appearances of Green Goblin, the first appearance of Daredevil. I'm going to concentrate on the Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Bronze Age kind of books. And I'm just going to stay away from the new books. I don't care if it's the flavor of the month. I don't care if it's a great new variant. I don't care if it's a brand new superhero. They're not making anything that's long-lasting. I'll tell you right now, name 10 modern new comic book villain or heroes without looking them up, and I bet you can't. All they do is redo things and say, oh, you like the Punisher? Now we're going to make him some other ethnicity, can't even speak, and we're going to change his gender. That's not original. Or like what they're doing with a lot of these TV shows and movies where they're just changing genders and saying, well, that's fresh. No, it's not. It's unoriginal. Create a new character. It's one of the reasons why I like a character like Miles Morales, because they didn't just say, this is Peter Parker, like it or you're a racist. They said, here's an alternate timeline version from an alternate universe of what would happen if on a different world someone else got bit by a radioactive spider. So you can have different characters with similar traits and be their own entity. But if it was two-sided, then I wouldn't have as much problem with it. You'll never see Hollywood take Wonder Woman and have her played by a man. You'll never have Black Panther be played by a white character. But they can switch the others, and if you don't like it, you're automatically labeled a racist or a sexist or homophobic. That's just naive and it's ridiculous. But it gets you to get angry, gets you to go to the next trailer or the next YouTube video and thumb it down or write a nasty comment thinking they're really going to be hurt that you wrote something bad. And all it's doing is it's putting you in a negative state of mind. It's giving them ad revenue and giving them attention. The best way to take care of a child that's crying is sometimes to let them cry. If you just constantly get them attention and give them things just to shut them up, number one, they grow up to be spoiled, and number two, they associate that crying and that negative attention for getting feedback and response. So you think they'll stop doing it, or you think they'll do it more as they get older? Sometimes you just got to say, all right, you want to be a crybaby, go sit in the corner and cry it out. When you're ready to talk like a adult, which is hard for a baby, but when you're ready to get through that and find a better way to communicate, sometimes you just got to let it happen. But people want the quick fixes these days. That's why the average person watches TikTok, because their attention span is about 8 seconds. Never seen a TikTok video other than maybe what somebody posted on some channel that was making fun of them. I've never been to TikTok. I will never make a TikTok video because I am not going to contribute to the demolishing of a society just to make money. And there are plenty of people out there that are doing the most ridiculous things that really question their mental health just for views, which ultimately gives them money. If you need money that bad and you're going to do things that go against your common sense and your mortality and your integrity, you got to rethink your ways. But, that's the thing about free will. You can do whatever you want. The right thing, the wrong thing, or nothing. Each one comes with its own set of consequences that you'll see down the line. So, those are the 4 books. There's my little sermon that some people like. If you didn't like it, you're not watching, so that doesn't matter. I want to thank the 3 people that came in. Actually, 4 people. It's a Christmas miracle. John Rowe, Jeshua Perez, Florence Chestnut, and Noah Burke. You four are all today's surprise subscriber shoutouts. Thank you to the 10 people out of the 14 that are watching. Let me know in the comment section what you think about what I'm talking about. Don't worry about comic book crashes, because if anything, if you look at the stock market and you look at investments, things can crash and they could rise. So take advantage of crashes by purchasing things that many people are complaining were too expensive. There's a housing market crash that's coming. There's a stock market crash that's happening, but we haven't seen the end of. And eventually there'll be a comic book crash. But that's a buying opportunity. Buy them all up at the crash so you can get your Amazing Fantasy 15s for $10,000 less than you would have if you would have bought it 5 years earlier. Get the books and stock up for the next time they rise. Because here's the thing about any kind of bubble. They go up and they go down. Nothing goes like this. Nothing goes like this. And nothing... Well, stocks can go straight down and disappear. But if you just research history, there were more millionaires that came out of the Great Depression than any other time in U.S. history, because very savvy people that knew what was coming or took advantage of what happened were buying what people were selling for pennies on the dollar because they were panicking. And they sat there. Maybe it took a year, maybe it took 5 years, maybe it took 10 years. But they bought at the rock bottom and waited for it to skyrocket back up. These things happen, and sometimes it could take a couple of years. So if you don't have the patience, you should not be investing in anything. You know, the successful businessmen who invest are the ones that know what they're doing. If you're just listening to other people without doing your own research, you better hope you're hitching your horse to the right wagon. So don't worry about dips. They are buying opportunities. If you're one of the 98% of the people who will panic sell when something goes down, you're always going to lose money, and you should not be investing. And that's not just comic books, that's anything. So you have to do the opposite of what the masses are doing. When the masses are selling, that's the time you're buying. When everybody's buying, that's the time you should be selling. You know, there's an old saying that says, you will never lose money selling at a profit, but you can lose money if you try and wait for the highest profit, because then you could miss the opportunity, and one day it stops going up and it shoots back down. So be smart. Do your research. Like I say, listen to everybody, because even people you may not agree with or may not even like, they may have a small bit of information that is relevant and helpful to you. They could even have stuff that teaches you what not to do. You know, sometimes you learn to be a good person by having to deal with bad people, because you learn that those people are so bad that I don't want to be like that person, and you become a different type of person because of that. So you can take advantage of the scenarios that are approaching you if you see them for what they are, and that's a learning lesson and a tool. If you see it as victimhood, you're always going to be victimized. That's why, in the past couple years with the whole plandemic, and you could like that word or not, I don't care, because there's a lot of things they said that were true ended up not being true, and anybody that talked about it were crazy conspiracy theorists. But I was going through my hard times, but I survived, and I'm going to end up thriving in the long run. I have many investments that I've been waiting, some over a decade, and I might have to wait another decade, but they'll happen. Put in the time, put in the effort, and do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. So if the most popular channel is telling you, and I'm not saying anyone specifically, but if they're telling you the comic book place is going to crash and you gotta, panic sell all your stuff, that person or people, I guarantee you, are probably manipulating you to sell your books so they can buy them up when the prices start dropping. Don't fall for those traps. That's why books like this, I was telling people years ago to buy when I could buy them not brand new, but I bought them between $10 and $14. Nobody wanted them. Now, if I was to list this right now for $800, I'd probably get 10 different people emailing me for it. So they wouldn't buy it when it was 10, but they will buy it when it's 800. I don't understand that, but to each their own. A fool and their money are soon parted. Thanks for watching. I hope you appreciate my advice. It is always genuine, sincere, and from the heart. It is not created by an agenda to make money off of you. If you listen to those type of people, they're going to end up hurting you in the long run. And they're going to profit off of your pain. Don't let the world do that to you. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you appreciate what I do. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. I haven't said that one in a while. It's not you, it's not I. It is We Love Comics. Have a great day. I'll see you next video. Enjoy the